Hey Xers, this is Function here. Today I'm going to be bringing you something a little different. You know, most of my videos I've been talking about Hex through maybe a more competitive lens, more serious lens, looking at, constructed decks and draft picks, the champion breakdowns and whatnot. But today I'm going to be talking about something that's a little bit more lighthearted and fun. I'm going to be talking about the top 5 cards that so far I'm the most hyped about. You know, Hex has definitely got me really excited, and these are going to be some of the cards that have me excited to be playing the game. Let's jump right in. So, obviously, number 5 is Dingler. I think everybody's pretty excited about it. Let's just jump right into number 4. Number 4, also Dingler. 2, 3, 1. Dingler, Dingler, Dingler. Spit hot fire. Alright, no, but to be serious, yeah, everybody loves Dingler, right? Right? Alright. So, what were the honorable mentions? These were 4 cards that, well, actually, I probably had maybe 6 or 7 cards that didn't make the top 5, but we're talking about the top 5, not the runners up. But just real quick, these were 4 of the ones that I really wanted to include in my top 5, but I had to narrow it down and cut these guys out. Clone Zone's pretty cool. Actually, it's the only PvE card that I even mentioned on the video. But yeah, Clone Zone's really cool. Alright, so let's jump into what number 5 is. Number 5, we got Inspiration Engine. It's the effect is create a random artifact and put it into play, but this isn't actually the card you're going to be playing. The card you're going to be playing is Construction Plan's Inspiration Engine, and once you build up 10 counters on it, you can transform it into the Inspiration Engine and start churning out artifacts every turn. What I really like about this is, there's like a chaos element. There's an element that you couldn't do in a physical game too. Since it's random and you're picking from such a huge pool of cards, there's just no way to do that physically. You'd have to have all the cards at hand. You'd have to have multiple copies of each one because you're activating the Inspiration Engine multiple times over the course of the game, all that kind of stuff. But since it's all digital, hey, no problem, easy peasy. The other thing that I think is really cool about Inspiration Engine is the more cards they release, 4 years from now, Inspiration Engine is going to be even more chaotic. It's going to be looking at a wider variety of artifacts to be putting into play, and there you go. You got some pretty cool stuff you can do. Sometimes you'll get a dud, sometimes you'll get something that's absolutely useless to you, and other times you'll get a card that just slam dunks the game, and you'll remember, oh, that time I tapped Inspiration Engine to put out another Inspiration Engine a million times, like the contest. Well, no, you'd probably be getting something cool like Argus or whatnot. But yeah, Inspiration Engine, number 5 for me. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, number 4, we got Warlock Inquisitor. Now, Warlock Inquisitor is cool for completely different reasons. First off, it's got a really cool ability. When this troop dies, return it to your hand. If you do, it gets permanent +2 cost. So basically, he never goes away unless your opponent counters him the time you play him or they void him. But he's just going to keep coming back for more and more and haunting your opponent. What's really cool, though, is he's got a major socket, which makes him that much more terrifying. You could attach all kinds of stuff to him. I think one of the blood sockets that you can put in is when he comes into play, he does damage to your opponent. So he just comes in and does 3 damage right off the bat, possibly even more if you found a way to pump him up permanently. Another one is if you have the wild socket in there, he comes into play and you can have him battle with another troop and they'll both do damage to each other. He'll probably die since the Warlock Inquisitor's only got 1 defense, but he'll probably kill something else too. Doing 3 damage is definitely pretty good, and that kind of makes him versatile. All you need is a troop. You can just put him into play and you're all good. If you need removal, he can also act as removal. It's kind of hard for him to be both removal and a troop, which is taken away a little bit, but that flexibility is what makes him really cool. And this is definitely a card you're going to see tons of people playing. There's just so much angles that you can take with him that he's going to be in all kinds of decks, and not necessarily even just like mono blood decks or blood wild, but probably some other really cool stuff too. Alright, number 3, we got Living Totem. So this guy's a little bit like Warlock Inquisitor. They're kind of similar in a sense that the earlier you draw them in the game, the more likely you are to win. Warlock Inquisitor keeps coming back, whereas Living Totem, once he's on the table, he's just going to get stronger and stronger as the game goes on. He offers you a ton of options. The ability is pay 3, this troop gets permanent, +1/+1, flight, life drain, steadfast, or swift strike. And so you can just add on all those abilities. I like that the flight is the top one here, and it's got the birds, but life drain, steadfast, and swift strike, I don't know how those make sense. Maybe somebody can come up with a cool story how the frog, the fish, and maybe a bear all work for the others. But yeah, I think the bear would be maybe more steadfast than the fish would be. Alright, what are we doing? So yeah, Living Totem, Definitely a really cool card, one I'm excited to play with, and it's going to see a bunch of play in all the diamond decks. It's just really versatile. It could act as an aggressive troop that you lay down early and then it continues to beat for the rest of the game, or it could even serve as a win condition for kind of slower decks where they land them early and they just try to control out the rest of the game as well. Number 2, though, we got a card that I was talking about at Gen Con with people a lot. It had been my number 1 card up until recently. It's just a card I'm really excited about, and it's just a great card. It's very straightforward. I like the art. I like what he does. I'm not one to really, dragons are awesome, and get excited about dragons and stuff, but I'm excited about dragons, so what can I say? So Jardim is my number 2. I've already talked about him a bunch, but I'll do it one more time. So he's a 4/4 with flight. When you play a non-resource card, Jardim gets permanent +X/+X, where X is that card's cost. So you can land him on turn 6 if you haven't done any ramping. You can land him even earlier if you've done some sort of resource acceleration. And then the next turn you play a 4-drop or something, all of a sudden he's going to be an 8/8 swinging in for all kinds of damage. If you drew a second Jardim, it's sometimes clunky in your hand, but you could play him, and all of a sudden he makes your first one a 10/10, swings in and just kills your opponent right then and there. I think that's pretty cool. Also, there's another card, I think it's a green 1-drop, that gives your creatures +4/+4. It actually gives Jardim +5/+5 if you play it on him, because, he gets the ability from himself. But yeah, Jadim's really cool. I think he's going to be a great win condition, and hopefully we'll see him played a lot, because I really like him a lot. I'm going to probably try to pick up a playset as soon as the game comes out, because I'm going to be wanting to build a bunch of decks that have him in there and trying to just smash in. But my final guy, the one that actually unseated Jadim, which had previously been my number 1 pick, the new head honcho, is Cosmic Transmogrifier. And this is just a wacky card. It's a card that was recently spoiled, I think, at PAX last weekend. And what do we got? So it's a constant that does pay 3. Each artifact, constant, and troop transforms into a random artifact, constant, or troop with the same cost. So let's think about that for a second. It's not entirely clear, but I would believe that this means if you have an artifact cost 1, and you activate this, that it can transform into either a troop, artifact, or constant. That it's not just artifact to artifact and constant to constant, which is kind of interesting. It is kind of funny that I think this transforms itself. Yeah, I never even thought about that till now. Yeah, it doesn't say each other artifact. It's just because I was going to say, that's kind of interesting. You could activate this multiple times on a turn, but you would have to activate it multiple times without letting any of those activations resolve. So you just, if you had 6 resources open, you could activate it twice, let them both resolve, because after that you're not going to have the Cosmic Transmogrifier anymore, assuming that this thing transforms into something else, and you don't have any other 5-drops that transform into a Transmogrifier, which isn't going to really happen very often. Huh, yeah, I never even really thought about that part. Anyhow, I'll keep going. So what's nice about this is it's just like the inspiration engine, but it operates on a whole nother random level. You're not just transforming one card into an artifact or putting one random artifact into play. No, you're transforming nearly everything in play and getting some sweet stuff out of it, hopefully. And hopefully your opponent gets nothing but dinglers, right? There, see, I brought it all the way around. Anyhow, yeah, Cosmic Transmogrifier is a card I'm very excited about, just because it's that random wacky element, and sometimes that's really fun for me to play. There were some cards in previous games that I really liked building decks around that did stuff like this, and every once in a while, one of them actually makes it into a high-tier PvP deck, which is even more fun, because then you actually get a chance to play with a wacky card that's a ton of fun. But that about wraps it up. What do I got? So yeah, Alpha is later this month. If you're not already aware, I'm doing a contest that I'm going to give away a Portentio, so long as I hit 300 subscribers before I get into Alpha, and right now I'm probably going to make that. Just keep subscribing, help me hit that mark, and you'll have a chance to win a Portentio perhaps. Anyways, visit hexvault.com, they got some awesome content on there, and for everything else, less fail, more function.